Hi there, I'm Monica, and let me tell you something. Family isn't always what it seems. Thanksgiving was supposed to be a time for gratitude, for togetherness. But in my family, it was just another stage for manipulation and deceit. My sister, Elise, she always had to be the star, the one in control. She made sure the world saw her as successful, as powerful. And me, she made sure I was nothing. She spread lies about me, said I was bankrupt, ruined, that I was drowning while she thrived. But what she didn't know? While she was bragging about buying her dream home, I had already signed the papers. The house was mine. The real question is, why? Why would I do something like that? Why would I play her game, but on my terms? And most importantly, how did she react when she found out? Trust me, you won't believe how far she went to keep her perfect illusion intact. But here's the thing about illusions. Eventually, they shatter. So tell me, have you ever been betrayed by the people who were supposed to love you most? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to hear how this all played out, keep watching. Thanksgiving had always been a spectacle at Elise's house. Lavish decorations, an extravagant dining setup, and an air of curated perfection. I knew what to expect, yet every year I still found myself bracing for the storm beneath the polished surface. The estate stood proudly in an upscale Charleston suburb, illuminated by a cascade of golden lights, wrapped around pristine white columns. From the driveway, the faint echoes of laughter and clinking glasses drifted through the crisp evening air. I parked a little farther away, taking a moment before stepping out. My reflection in the side mirror was composed, but the tension behind my eyes betrayed me. Inside, the house exuded grandeur. Vaulted ceilings, an opulent chandelier, and sleek modern furniture, each piece curated to reflect Elise's idea of success. The room buzzed with conversation, but the energy was unmistakable, controlled, monitored, like every movement was meant to contribute to an illusion of effortless perfection. Elise, as expected, stood at the center of it all. Dressed in a tailored burgundy dress, she laughed effortlessly, her manicured fingers wrapped around a crystal champagne flute. She commanded attention without demanding it, a skill she had mastered long before I ever understood the weight of it. Monica, her voice carried across the room, feigned warmth coating every syllable. I was starting to wonder if you were coming. I offered a polite smile, handing my coat to a waiting server. Traffic was heavier than I expected. Her eyes flickered, a micro-expression of skepticism before she beamed again. Of course, the holiday rush. Dylan appeared beside me, subtly placing a glass of wine in my hand. Thought you might need this, he murmured. I took a sip, scanning the room. My parents were in their usual spots. Dad engaged in polite conversation with distant relatives, Mom looking more exhausted than usual, but keeping up appearances. And then there was Brandon. He stood near the fireplace, posture stiff, eyes distant. The once confident architect now carried an unfamiliar weariness. He was listening to someone, but his mind was elsewhere. Elise moved toward him, slipping her hand possessively around his arm. His jaw tensed. I turned to Dylan. How bad is it? He exhaled slowly. Worse than you think. Dinner was served on a table stretching nearly the length of the dining hall. Candles flickered in silver holders, and a centerpiece of autumn-colored flowers sat between intricately folded napkins. The atmosphere was carefully arranged, but the tension was unavoidable. Elise thrived in moments like these. It was never enough to be admired. She needed control, dominance, the satisfaction of knowing she dictated the narrative. Halfway through dinner, she turned toward me with a practiced smile. Monica, I was just telling everyone how incredible your work ethic is. It's inspiring, really, how you've managed to build yourself up. The room quieted slightly. Compliments from Elise were never without an edge. But I suppose, she continued, dabbing her napkin against her lips, some people are just naturally inclined for supporting roles. A soft ripple of laughter moved through the table. I set my fork down carefully. Across from me, Brandon glanced away. Dylan's fingers curled subtly around his wineglass, the only visible sign of his annoyance. I knew the game. Engage, and I'd be playing into her hands. Stay silent, and she'd consider it a victory. I reached for my glass, forcing a casual tone. It's always fascinating to hear your perspective, Elise. A flicker of irritation passed through her eyes, but before she could respond, Dylan leaned toward me and whispered, "She's not just coming after you." Brandon's in deeper than he realizes. I stilled, processing his words. Then Elise straightened, drawing the room's attention with practiced ease. "Before we move on to dessert, I have a little announcement." Brandon's posture stiffened beside her. "We are thrilled to share that we're about to close on a stunning vacation property in the Hamptons, our dream home." Applause followed. Toasts were raised, but I couldn't hear any of it. The name of the property. I had seen it before. Elise didn't own that house. It had been purchased, under a different name. My grip tightened around my wineglass, my voice barely audible. "That's impossible." Brandon flinches at my words. "What do you mean, impossible?" he asks, his voice low but edged with unease. I glance at him, but before I can respond, Elise lets out a perfectly practiced laugh, tilting her head back slightly. "Oh, Monica," she says, shaking her head, her expression a mix of amusement and condescension. "You always have such a flair for dramatics." She lifts her champagne flute and takes a slow sip, eyes gleaming under the chandelier's golden glow. The murmur of conversations continues around us, but something in the air has shifted. Even those who pretend to be engaged in other discussions have subtly turned their attention toward us. Brandon's gaze is sharp, searching my face for an explanation. I set my wineglass down carefully. "The Hamptons house you just announced," I say evenly, keeping my voice low but firm. "You don't own it." A flicker of something, irritation, maybe panic, passes through her eyes before she blinks it away. She exhales softly, as if indulging a foolish child. "Monica, darling, I know you struggle with being happy for other people, but this is sad, even for you." She places a manicured hand over her chest, her expression shifting into carefully curated concern. "You've always had this need to undermine me. It's exhausting, really." Dylan, sitting beside me, leans in just enough that only I can hear him. "Watch her closely," he murmurs. "She deflects when she's cornered." I already know that. I've seen her do it my entire life. Brandon shifts, his fingers tightening around the edge of the dining table. "Elise," he says, his voice controlled but noticeably tense. "Answer the question." She turns to him, her expression softening as she switches tactics. "Oh, sweetheart," she coos, touching his arm. "You know I've been handling the paperwork. It's all in motion. These things take time." Brandon's jaw clenches. I glance at Dylan, who is already watching Elise the way a hunter watches its prey. His mind is working, processing every word, every tick of her expression. I take a slow breath, steadying myself. "That's interesting," I say, keeping my tone casual. "Because I happen to know the house was sold 3 weeks ago, and not to you." Silence. Brandon looks at me sharply. "What?" Elise's smile is tight now. "You're mistaken." Dylan crosses one ankle over the other, swirling the wine in his glass lazily. "I'd bet good money she isn't," he says, raising an eyebrow. She turns her glare on him now. "What exactly are you implying?" "I think Monica's implying you're lying," Dylan says smoothly. The room is suddenly too quiet. Brandon exhales slowly, pushing his plate away as he leans back in his chair. "Then explain something to me, Elise," he says, his voice steady but colder than I've ever heard it. She stiffens. He looks around as if making sure everyone else is listening. "If we're about to buy a vacation home, why are we struggling to pay our current mortgage?" The weight of his words crashes over the table like a wave. Someone sets their fork down. A cousin coughs awkwardly. Elise recovers quickly, letting out another laugh. "Brandon," she says sweetly, We are not struggling. You know investments take time to balance out. Everything is accounted for. Brandon doesn't blink. Then show me the numbers. I watch her, searching for the moment her mask cracks. It happens in the briefest flicker. The way her fingers tighten around her glass. The way she quickly shifts her gaze away from his. Then she leans back and exhales dramatically. Honestly, I don't understand why I'm constantly being interrogated. Do I ask you to justify every decision you make? Number. She presses a hand to her temple, like she's suddenly exhausted by all of this. This is ridiculous. Brandon is staring at her like he's seeing her for the first time. She knows she's losing control. She turns back to me instead, her eyes narrowing. Honestly, Monica, why do you always find a way to be jealous? She snaps. Maybe if you worked as hard as I do, you'd have something of your own instead of worrying about my success. I inhale sharply, every muscle in my body going taut. Dylan shifts beside me, ready to step in. But then, for the first time all evening, Brandon speaks up again. I have another question, he says quietly. Elise turns back to him, eyes flashing with impatience. He folds his arms. If everything is fine, why did I find a late payment notice in the mail last week? Elise goes still. Brandon's voice is eerily calm. You told me you paid the mortgage. A single beat of silence. Then Elise forces out a soft laugh. I did. Brandon stares at her. Lying won't work this time. Dylan leans closer to me. That's the look of a man who's starting to wake up. I grip the stem of my glass tighter. Elise adjusts her posture, taking control again. This is ridiculous, she says dismissively, standing up. I'm done entertaining these absurd accusations. We're supposed to be enjoying Thanksgiving. She turns to the guests, flashing her effortless smile. I think we could all use some dessert. Slowly, conversations resume, though the tension remains thick. Brandon says nothing as she walks away, his fingers tapping against the table in thought. I turn to Dylan. I need to talk to you. He nods, setting his glass down. We step into a quieter part of the house. The low hum of conversation from the other room is distant, muffled. She doesn't own the Hamptons house, I say, keeping my voice low. Someone else does. Dylan studies me carefully. Do you know who? I hesitate for only a second. I have a theory. Before he can respond, the guests start moving toward the door, signaling that the night is ending. I step back into the main area just as Brandon appears in front of me, his face unreadable. He waits until the last of the guests have left before speaking. Tell me the truth, Monica. I meet his gaze. What do you know about Elise that I don't? The weight of the question lingers between us. I exhale sharply, shaking my head. I know that she's about to lose everything. Brandon runs a hand through his hair, his face pale. Then I need to know everything, he says firmly. I glance around the nearly empty street outside Elise's house. The night air is crisp, the holiday lights casting a warm glow on the pavement, but there's nothing comforting about this moment. Brandon's entire world is shifting beneath his feet, and I wonder if he's truly ready to hear what I have to say. I hesitate, but he catches my wrist before I can turn away. Monica, please, he pleads, voice tight. I can't keep pretending I don't see it. I need the truth. Something in his expression makes my chest tighten. Come on, I say, nodding toward my car. Let's talk somewhere Elise can't listen in. The drive is silent, the weight of unspoken words stretching between us. I take him to a small bar just outside downtown Charleston. It's quiet, dimly lit, the kind of place where people come to be forgotten. I choose a corner booth, waiting until the bartender moves away before I finally speak. You don't know who she really is, I say, stirring the condensation on my glass with my finger. Or maybe you do, and you just don't want to admit it. Brandon exhales sharply, rubbing his temple. I know Elise isn't perfect. She has flaws, but she's my wife, Monica. I shake my head. She's a liar, a fraud, and this isn't the first time. He tenses. What do you mean? I set my drink down, my fingers pressing into the table's wooden surface. It started years ago. I was 18, about to start college. I had a scholarship, but it didn't cover everything. My dad co-signed a loan to cover the rest. Brandon listens intently, his expression unreadable. I take a slow breath, forcing myself to keep my voice steady. One morning, I went to pay my tuition. The payment bounced. Brandon frowns. That doesn't make sense. No, I agree. It didn't. At least not until I saw the withdrawal records. Someone had taken the money out weeks before. His eyes darken. Elise? I nod. She forged our father's signature and drained the account. When I confronted her, she laughed, said I should be grateful, because apparently she needed it more. Brandon shakes his head, eyes flashing with disbelief. And your parents? They didn't want to believe it. My dad was furious at first. But Elise, she always knows how to manipulate people. She cried, played the victim, said it was a misunderstanding. I let out a humorless chuckle. She made it sound like I was the selfish one for being angry about it. Brandon leans back, silent. I push forward. That was the first time she stole. But it wasn't the last. The words hang between us. Brandon swallows hard, his hands clenched into fists. And you never told me. I tilt my head. Would you have believed me? His shoulders drop, the realization hitting him all at once. I watch as his mind pieces together memories, patterns, all the things he's ignored for years. The way Elise always seemed to have more money than she should, the expensive vacations, the way she dismissed any concerns about their finances with a smile and a kiss. Brandon exhales shakily. I found collection notices in her office weeks ago, he admits. I asked her about them. She told me it was just a mistake, that she'd taken care of it. He laughs bitterly. And like an idiot, I believed her. I lean forward. Elise is drowning, Brandon. The Hamptons house was supposed to be her way out. If she could convince everyone, especially you, that she was closing on a multi-million-dollar property, she could use that leverage to secure more credit, more loans, keep the illusion going just a little longer. Brandon grips his glass, his knuckles white. And now? Now? I shake my head. Now she's out of time. Brandon stares at the table, his mind racing. I can see the war in his eyes, the battle between denial and the unavoidable truth. Finally, he leans forward, voice steady but determined. If she's lied about this, he says slowly, what else has she been hiding from me? I meet his gaze, holding it. Are you ready to find out? Brandon nods. Tell me what we need to do. The determination in his voice is new. It's raw, unsteady, but it's there. For the first time, he's willing to look past the illusion Elise has spent years weaving around him. I don't say anything at first, just study his face. There's still hesitation in his eyes, the last remnants of denial clinging to him. But he's ready. We start with the truth, I say. No more excuses, no more trusting her word. He exhales sharply, nods again, then glances at his watch. It's late. I need to go home, he says. I need to see it for myself. I don't argue. He needs to do this alone. As he pushes away from the table and heads for the door, Dylan, who has been silent up until now, leans back in his chair. If he finds what I think he'll find, he murmurs, this marriage is already over. I don't disagree. Brandon arrives home long past midnight. The Dawson mansion is dark, quiet, a stark contrast to the chaos spinning inside his mind. He slips inside carefully, barely making a sound as he moves through the grand foyer, past the winding staircase, and toward Elise's home office. She's upstairs, asleep, or at least pretending to be. The door to her office is slightly ajar. He hesitates before pushing it open, flicking on the desk lamp. The room is immaculate, as it always is, but the closer he looks, the more cracks he sees. Papers stacked too neatly, drawers locked when they shouldn't be. He sits down at her desk, heart pounding in his ears, and pulls open the first drawer. It's filled with neatly filed receipts, but something about them feels off. Every transaction is excessive: designer clothes, luxury travel, extravagant dining. He flips through them, fingers tightening around the edges. None of these are things he approved. None of them are things he even knew about. He moves to the next drawer. Locked. Brandon swears under his breath, scanning the desk until he finds the small silver key tucked inside a porcelain dish. His fingers shake as he slides it into the lock, turns it. The drawer pops open with a quiet click. Inside, neatly organized, is a stack of documents. The first thing he sees is a credit card statement. His name is on it. So is a balance of over $50,000. Brandon blinks, flipping to the next page. Another credit card. Another maxed out balance. Loan applications, property records, bank transfers he never approved. His breathing grows shallow as he moves through them. He feels like he's drowning, sinking deeper with each new piece of evidence. Then, his hand freezes over a sealed envelope. Unlike the others, this one isn't filed away. It's shoved into the back of the drawer, almost like an afterthought. He pulls it out, breaks the seal, and unfolds the letter. His stomach drops. Final notice of eviction. The words blur in front of him. His mouth goes dry. The mansion, their home, isn't just at risk. It's already gone. Elise had kept it hidden. All this time, while she smiled, laughed, threw parties, while she played the role of the perfect wife. She had known. She had known and said nothing. Brandon doesn't realize how much time has passed until he hears soft footsteps behind him. He looks up. Elise stands at the top of the staircase, her silk robe draped loosely around her. Her hair is slightly disheveled, but there's no sign of sleep in her eyes. She was awake. She knew he was in here. For the first time, she looks nervous. Brandon rises slowly, still gripping the eviction notice in his hand. "How long were you planning to keep this from me?" Elise freezes. "Brandon," she whispers, voice careful. "Let me explain." Brandon's grip tightens on the paper. "I think you've explained enough." Elise blinks, recovering quickly. She tilts her head, forcing a soft, incredulous laugh as she steps forward. "Brandon, you're overreacting," she says smoothly, reaching for his arm. "You're exhausted. You've had too much to drink." He jerks away. "Don't," he warns, voice sharp. Her expression flickers, just for a second. Then she sighs, her features rearranging into something softer, more controlled. "Baby, let's sit down," she coaxes. "Talk about this rationally." He exhales slowly, staring at her. The woman in front of him, the carefully curated version of Elise, has manipulated him for years, always knowing the right words, the right tone, the perfect amount of affection to pull him back in. Not this time. Brandon holds up the eviction notice between them. "This isn't an overreaction," he says. "This is proof." Elise crosses her arms. "It's not what you think." Brandon laughs coldly. "It's exactly what I think." He steps back, running a hand through his hair. "How long?" he asks, voice tight. "How long have you known we were losing the house?" Elise's silence is answer enough. Brandon shakes his head, jaw clenching. "You told me everything was fine. You told me you had it under control." He gestures around the grand house. The chandeliers, the imported furniture, the expensive artwork. "Was any of this ever real?" Elise stiffens. "Of course it was." Brandon scoffs. "Then why am I finding out like this?" He lifts the foreclosure notice again. "Why did I have to dig through your files to see the truth?" Elise lets out a breath, frustration creeping into her voice. "Because I knew how you'd react," she snaps. "Just like this, panicking, accusing me, acting like I'm some kind of criminal." His fingers tighten into fists. "You stole from me," he says. "You forged my name on loans, maxed out credit cards, lied to my face about our finances. What exactly would you call it?" Her lips press together, her patience thinning. Brandon, listen to me, she says carefully. I had a plan. The Hamptons house. It was an investment. If we had secured the right buyers, flipped it at the right time, we could have fixed everything. His stomach turns. You were gambling. She rolls her eyes. It's called business. Brandon exhales harshly, shaking his head. You don't get it, do you? It's over, Elise. We don't own a Hamptons house. We don't even own this house anymore. For the first time, true panic flashes in her eyes. Brandon steps forward, his voice steady. Tell me the truth. How much do we actually owe? Elise hesitates, fingers twitching against her robe. Brandon's gut twists. Jesus, he mutters, stepping away. She inhales sharply. Brandon, please. No, he cuts in. Not this time. She reaches for him again, but he moves out of reach. I can fix this, she insists. He shakes his head. I don't believe you. Elise's face darkens. The softness vanishes, replaced by something colder, sharper. You're nothing without me, she says flatly. You think people respect you? They don't. They respect me. Everything we have, everything you are, is because of me. Brandon lets out a slow, measured breath. Then he turns, walking toward the staircase. Where are you going? She demands. He doesn't stop. Brandon! He reaches their bedroom, grabs a duffel bag from the closet, and starts packing. Footsteps storm behind him. What the hell are you doing? He zips the bag closed. Leaving. Elise's eyes widen, genuine fear creeping into her voice. You don't mean that. He lifts the bag over his shoulder. Yes, I do. She stares at him, her breath coming in short, shallow bursts. Brandon, she pleads, we can fix this. You can't fix this, he says quietly. Not this time. Elise takes a step forward, desperation slipping through the cracks of her perfect facade. You'll regret this. Brandon exhales sharply, shaking his head. No, he says. For the first time, I don't think I will. In the dim morning light, Brandon pulls his car into an empty parking lot and takes out his phone. His hands are shaking as he dials. Monica answers on the second ring. Brandon? His throat tightens. I need your help. She doesn't hesitate. Tell me everything. Brandon inhales, forcing the words out. I want a divorce. Silence. Then Monica exhales sharply. You need to get out before she burns everything to the ground. Brandon stares at the horizon, the weight of his decision settling deep in his bones. He knows she's right. Meanwhile, back at the mansion, Elise stands by the window, clutching her phone. Her fingers tremble as she dials a number. When the call connects, she whispers urgently, I need more time. You promised me time. A cold voice on the other end of the call replies, Time's up, Elise. For the first time in a long while, Elise doesn't have a response. She grips the phone tighter, pressing it to her ear as if she can physically hold back the consequences barreling toward her. I just need a little longer, she says, her voice measured, controlled. A low chuckle hums through the receiver. That's what you said last time. She swallows, forcing herself to keep calm. You'll get your money. No, Elise. I'll get my money when I take everything from you. The call ends. Elise stares at her reflection in the darkened window, her own face barely recognizable beneath the growing panic. Her world is slipping, and for the first time, she doesn't know how to stop it. Brandon exhales as he steps into his new apartment, a one-bedroom rental in the heart of Charleston. It's clean, modern, but painfully empty. A week ago, he was living in a mansion, oblivious to the financial disaster Elise had orchestrated. Now he's starting over, with nothing but a half-filled suitcase and a stack of legal documents waiting on the kitchen counter. The divorce papers. He runs a hand through his hair before picking them up. Monica and Dylan made sure everything was airtight. No loopholes, no way for Elise to manipulate her way out of this. She would contest it, of course. She would fight tooth and nail. But this time, she wouldn't win. His phone buzzes. A text from Monica. It's done. She's being served today. Brandon exhales sharply, gripping the papers. This is it. Elise is in the middle of a spa appointment when the server finds her. She lounges in a plush robe, champagne in hand, feigning composure as the woman in a crisp black suit hands over the envelope. "Mrs. Dawson," the server says smoothly. "You've been served." The world tilts. Elise takes the envelope but doesn't open it. She doesn't need to. She already knows what it is. Divorce. It was inevitable, but she thought she had more time. The server gives her a curt nod and walks away. The room is suddenly too quiet. The other women in the spa, once envious of her lifestyle, now look at her with a mixture of curiosity and thinly veiled amusement. Elise clenches her jaw. She won't let them see her break. Instead, she calmly stands, slides her sunglasses over her eyes, and walks out as if nothing happened. Monica leans back in her office chair, watching Dylan sift through paperwork. "She's going to fight it," Dylan mutters, flipping through the financial reports. "She always does." "She can try," Monica says, reaching for her coffee. "But she won't win." Dylan smirks. "You sound confident." "I am. Because for once, Elise isn't the one holding all the cards." Monica's phone buzzes, a blocked number. She hesitates before answering. A disguised voice filters through. "You're digging into something you shouldn't be." Monica's grip tightens on the phone. "Excuse me?" A beat of silence. Then, "Drop it, or you'll regret it." The line goes dead. Monica stares at her screen, heartbeat steady but sharp. She looks up at Dylan, who's watching her closely. "Well," she says slowly, "that's new." Dylan raises an eyebrow. "Threats?" "Seems that way." She leans forward, considering. Someone doesn't want her to expose Elise. That only makes her more determined. Brandon's tension doesn't ease, even hours after Elise has been served. A part of him expected relief, but all he feels is unease. The threat started 2 days ago. Anonymous texts at first, vague warnings to walk away. Then they escalated. A note under his door. A voicemail with nothing but heavy breathing. Now, sitting alone in his apartment, the silence feels oppressive. His phone rings. He expects Monica. Instead, it's Elise. He lets it go to voicemail. Moments later, a text appears. "You'll regret this." Brandon exhales slowly. "No," he thinks, "I won't." The office door slams open. Monica doesn't even flinch as Elise storms in, her heels clicking against the tile. She slams the divorce papers onto the desk, eyes blazing. "You think you've won?" Elise hisses. "This is far from over." Monica doesn't react. She simply leans back in her chair, fingers laced together, and smiles. "We'll see about that." Elise steps out of the office, dialing a number she never thought she'd have to call again. "I need your help." The line crackles for a moment, before a low, measured voice responds. "You always do." She swallows, gripping her phone tightly as she steps into her car. "This is different, Victor." A dry chuckle. "It always is." She clenches her jaw. "I don't have time for games. I need to meet." Silence. Then, "Same place." The call ends. Elise exhales, shoving her phone into her bag. She's out of options. The private club sits on the edge of Charleston, tucked away from prying eyes. It isn't the kind of place one stumbles into. It's the kind of place where power is exchanged over whiskey and whispered threats. Elise strides through the dimly lit lounge, ignoring the weight of the stairs following her. She doesn't belong here, not anymore. But that doesn't mean she can't pretend. Victor Langford sits in the farthest booth, a glass of scotch resting in front of him. He hasn't changed. His tailored suit is crisp, his salt and pepper hair neatly combed back, but the same calculating sharpness lingers in his dark eyes. As she slides into the booth, he watches her like a cat watching a wounded bird. "You're late," he says. "I wasn't aware we were keeping appointments." Victor smiles, but there's no warmth in it. "I hear things, Elise. Rumors, whispers. Something about a husband walking out? A house lost?" He leans back, swirling his drink. Messy. She forces a tight smile. Nothing I can't handle. Victor hums. Is that why you're here? She doesn't bother with pleasantries. I need more time. Victor raises an eyebrow. Time. The money's coming, she lies. A new investment deal, big. If you give me a little breathing room, I can make sure you get more than what I owe. Victor chuckles, shaking his head. Still spinning stories. It's not a story. His amusement fades. You think I don't know you, Elise? His voice lowers, sharp as a blade. You're drowning, and now you're desperate. Elise's nails dig into her palm beneath the table. I just need 7 days. Victor considers her, then leans forward, elbows on the table. You have 7 days, he murmurs. Then I take what's mine another way. Elise forces herself to hold his gaze. That won't be necessary. Victor smirks. We'll see. Monica is reviewing paperwork when her phone vibrates. A blocked number. She hesitates, then answers. You need to watch your back, a disguised voice warns. Monica sits up straighter. Excuse me? You think you know who you're dealing with, but you don't. Elise isn't just desperate, she's reckless. Monica grips the phone. Who is this? A pause. Then, ask her about Victor Langford. The line goes dead. Monica stares at her phone, a slow unease creeping into her bones. Victor Langford. The name is unfamiliar, but the weight behind it is unmistakable. Dylan looks up from his laptop, noticing her expression. What is it? Monica exhales sharply. I think Elise is in deeper than we thought. Brandon stands in the kitchen of his apartment, staring at the bank statement on his laptop. His stomach twists. Money has been transferred from their joint account. Large amounts. The recipient? An untraceable account. Elise. He clenches his jaw. She wasn't just reckless, she was dangerous. Elise grips her glass of wine, staring out over the Charleston skyline. 7 days. She always found a way. And this time would be no different. Monica reads the anonymous message again. Elise is in deeper than you think, and if you don't stop her, someone else will. The words pulse in her mind like a steady drumbeat. She had known her sister was reckless, manipulative, and selfish, but this was something else. Who sent this? Dylan asks, leaning over her desk to read the message again. I don't know, Monica murmurs, setting her phone down. But whoever it is, they know something we don't. Dylan sighs, rubbing the back of his neck. You think this has anything to do with that name you mentioned yesterday? Victor Langford? Monica's stomach knots. The moment she'd heard that name, something about it had felt off. Now, with this message, that unease has solidified into something undeniable. I think we need to find out. The next few hours are a blur of financial records and research. Monica and Dylan sit in her office, sifting through Elise's offshore accounts, tracking wire transfers that lead to suspicious companies, shell corporations with no real business dealings, just a constant flow of money disappearing into the void. Dylan exhales sharply. This isn't just fraud. This is criminal. Monica nods, her throat dry. Elise wasn't just hiding assets. She was moving money through illegal channels. Dylan straightens, his eyes narrowing. Which means she's not just in trouble with the IRS. She's in trouble with people who don't forgive debts. Monica swallows the tension creeping up her spine. And that's when her phone rings. Brandon's voice is clipped, urgent. We need to meet. Now. 15 minutes later, Monica finds him pacing in front of a coffee shop, his expression hard. She barely has time to say hello before he thrusts a piece of paper at her. It's a copy of their joint bank account transactions. And the withdrawals? They're staggering. She drained our accounts, Brandon says, voice tight. Transferred everything to an offshore account linked to a private lender. Monica looks up at him. Victor Langford? His expression darkens. You know about him? I'm starting to. Brandon exhales, raking a hand through his hair. I went to my lawyer this morning. I'm filing for an emergency financial freeze. If she thinks she's going to keep taking from me, She's got another thing coming. Monica nods. Good, that's the smartest thing you can do. Place Elise stands in front of Brandon's temporary apartment, her hair and makeup flawless despite the chaos unraveling beneath the surface. She knocks twice before he opens the door. I need to talk to you, she says, her voice carefully controlled. Brandon leans against the doorframe, arms crossed. If this is about the money, this isn't about the money. Her voice softens. It's about us. He exhales, shaking his head. There is no us, Elise. You made sure of that. She steps closer, just enough that he can smell her perfume. Familiar, once comforting. Brandon, please. For a split second, he falters. Not because he believes her, but because this is the Elise he fell for. The one who knew how to play the part perfectly. I don't want to fight, she whispers. I need you to understand that I never meant for things to get this bad. Brandon studies her, then sighs. If you're really sorry, sign the divorce papers, walk away. Elise flinches, but recovers quickly. You know I can't do that. Brandon's jaw tightens. Then we have nothing to talk about. She watches him, something shifting behind her eyes. Then, just as quickly as she appeared, she turns and walks away. Monica is going over case files when the door to her office bursts open. Elise stands in the doorway, eyes wide, breathing uneven. Monica blinks. It's the first time she's ever seen her sister look afraid. Elise steps forward, voice barely above a whisper. I need your help. Monica slowly closes her laptop. Excuse me? I know you hate me, Elise says, her tone raw. I know you want to see me fall, but… She exhales sharply, shaking her head. I can't fix this alone. Monica narrows her eyes. Fix what? Elise hesitates, her mask cracking just slightly. I owe money, Monica. More than you can imagine. Monica leans forward. To who? Elise's lips part, but no sound comes out. Monica watches her closely. Victor Langford? Elise jerks back as if struck. Monica exhales through her nose. That's what I thought. Silence stretches between them. Then, finally, Elise whispers, They're going to kill me, Monica. Monica meets her sister's gaze, unflinching. Then I suggest you start telling me the truth. Victor watches from a distance as Elise leaves Monica's office. He takes a slow sip of his drink, the ice clinking against the glass, before pulling out his phone. She's out of time, he mutters. The response on the other end is immediate. We'll handle it. Victor smirks and ends the call, tapping his fingers against the glass. Elise always thought she was untouchable. She was about to learn otherwise. I watch Elise pace the office, her perfectly manicured nails tapping against the wooden desk as if she could drum away the inevitable. She had asked for my help, begged for it. But even now, I could see the gears in her head turning, searching for an angle, a way to manipulate me into fixing this for her. I wasn't falling for it. You want me to believe you're the victim? I ask, arms crossed. That you just fell into $2 million of debt? Elise exhales sharply. I thought I could flip it, she says, voice strained. I had deals lined up. Real estate investments, stocks. I just needed time. But then things started falling apart and… I shake my head. You gambled with money that wasn't yours. She swallows, shifting uncomfortably. I didn't have a choice. There's always a choice, Elise, I snap. You just never pick the right one. She flinches, and for a brief moment, I see something real beneath the layers of arrogance, fear. This isn't just about me anymore, she says quietly. Victor, his people, they don't care about contracts or court cases. If they don't get their money, they'll take something else. A chill creeps up my spine. You mean they'll kill you? She nods once. Good. A small, vicious part of me thinks she deserves it, that this is karma finally catching up to her. But then I think of Brandon, how much she's already cost him. Why are you here, Elise? I ask, my voice lower now. She hesitates. Because if I go down, I'm not going alone. Brandon sits across from his lawyer, flipping through the final draft of the financial restrictions. So once this is filed, he says, she can't touch a cent? His lawyer nods. Correct. Given the evidence of reckless spending and mismanagement, we can argue for full control over the remaining assets. Brandon exhales. It's over, he mutters. His lawyer doesn't reply. Because they both know, it's never that simple. Elise grips the edge of my desk, her knuckles turning white. I took out a loan in Brandon's name. The words hit me like a gunshot. My stomach drops. You what? She swallows. It was months ago. I needed collateral, and his credit was still. You forged his signature? I demand, my voice rising. She doesn't deny it. I inhale sharply, trying to steady the rage bubbling up inside me. Do you have any idea what you've done? I say, my voice low and dangerous. She looks away. Of course she does, and she doesn't care. Brandon is halfway through a bottle of whiskey when the knock comes at his door. He ignores it at first, but then he hears the rustle of paper sliding under the frame. Frowning, he gets up, bending to pick up the envelope. No return address, just his name. He rips it open and pulls out the contents. A contract, a loan contract. His eyes skim the details, his heartbeat quickening. $500,000. Under his name, with his signature. Only, he never signed it. His phone buzzes. Unknown number. He answers. A voice, smooth and cold. Evening, Brandon. Brandon grips the paper, his pulse hammering. Who is this? Doesn't matter. What does matter is that we own you now. Pay up, or we take it another way. Brandon exhales sharply, his grip tightening on the papers. She just signed my death sentence. Monica's phone rings. She doesn't recognize the number, but something in her gut tells her to answer. The voice on the other end is smooth, deliberate. You're smart, smarter than your sister. Maybe you can fix this before it gets ugly. Monica's grip tightens around the phone. Who is this? A pause. Then, you already know. Elise sits in the back of a black SUV, staring out at the darkened streets as the car glides through the industrial district. She doesn't know why she agreed to this meeting. Maybe desperation, maybe fear. Or maybe, deep down, she still believes she can talk her way out of anything. The SUV slows to a stop outside a dimly lit warehouse. The driver says nothing. She swallows and steps out. Inside, the air smells of oil and rust. A single hanging bulb flickers overhead. Victor leans against a stack of wooden crates, arms crossed. Elise, he greets, his voice casual. I was wondering when you'd show. She forces a smile, but her hands tremble at her sides. I told you I just need a little more time. Victor tilts his head, as if considering. Then he snaps his fingers. Two men step out of the shadows. Elise stiffens. Victor steps closer, lowering his voice. Time's up! Monica stares at the blank screen of her phone, heart pounding. Brandon paces the room. Who was it? She exhales. Victor! Brandon's expression darkens. What did he want? She doesn't answer. She doesn't need to, they both know. Dylan leans forward, hands steepled. We need to move now. Brandon nods. How do we clear my name? Monica thinks for a moment, then says, we find the money. Because despite everything, despite the threats, the fraud, the betrayals, Elise wasn't broke. She was lying. Again. Victor watches Elise with mild amusement. You're out of favors, he tells her. No more extensions, no more negotiations. She forces herself to stand taller. I'll get you the money. He lifts a brow. Oh? And where exactly is it? She hesitates. Victor smirks. That's what I thought. He steps closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. You have 48 hours, he says. After that, he gestures toward the two men flanking him. The message is clear. Elise barely makes it out of the warehouse before her legs give out. She grips the car door for support, sucking in a shaky breath. 48 hours. She could fix this. She had to. Monica and Dylan sift through financial statements, legal documents, offshore records, everything they have, and then they find it. A flagged transaction, a hidden account. Dylan exhales. She had the money this whole time. Monica's jaw tightens. Of course she did. Brandon stares at the numbers, his expression unreadable. Then why didn't she use it? Monica meets his gaze. Because she still thinks she can win. But not this time. She closes the folder. We need to get into her house. Elise barely registers the drive home. Her thoughts are spinning too fast, tangled between escape routes and last-ditch plans. She needs a drink. The mansion is silent when she enters. She heads straight for the liquor cabinet, pouring herself a generous glass of whiskey. She takes a deep breath. She'll figure this out. She always does. But then, something feels off. She turns, scanning the dimly lit room. Her office door is slightly ajar. Her stomach twists. Slowly, she steps forward, reaching for the handle. The safe is open. Her heart pounds. She rushes forward, hands shaking as she rifles through the contents. The offshore account documents. Gone. Her breath catches. And then, a single word, hissed through clenched teeth. Monica! Monica sits in her car, flipping through the stolen documents. The numbers don't lie. Elise had more than enough money to pay Victor and walk away. But instead, she gambled, convinced she could manipulate her way out. Monica exhales, gripping the steering wheel. This ends now. She dials a number. Dylan picks up after one ring. Tell me you have something. Monica's voice is steady. We have her. Now let's end this. Brandon storms into Monica's office just after midnight. His hair is disheveled, his jaw clenched. He tosses a crumpled piece of paper onto her desk. Another threat from Victor. Monica doesn't flinch. She expected this. What the hell did you do? Brandon demands. Dylan, leaning against the bookshelf, crosses his arms. She got us leverage. Brandon's eyes snap to Monica. You broke into her house? Monica doesn't deny it. I did what had to be done. Brandon rakes a hand through his hair, pacing. You know this could backfire, right? Monica leans forward. So could doing nothing. He stops. She pushes the documents toward him. She had it, Brandon. The money. She could have paid Victor weeks ago, but she didn't. Brandon swallows hard, his hands balling into fists. She let this happen. Monica nods. And now we make her fix it. Elise sits alone in the mansion, clutching her phone. She has spent hours making calls, begging, pleading. No one will help her. Her so-called friends have stopped answering. Her financial advisors have quietly distanced themselves. Even her own family is against her. And then, her phone pings. A single message from an unknown number. You have 24 hours to fix this. Her blood runs cold. She doesn't know who sent it, but she has a feeling she knows exactly where it came from. Monica watches the clock. Victor's deadline is closing in. She doesn't know what he'll do if Elise doesn't pay, but she has a feeling it won't be pretty. Dylan shifts beside her. Do you think she'll come? Monica doesn't answer, because she already knows. Elise doesn't have a choice. The doors to Monica's office burst open. Elise storms in, face pale, eyes burning with desperation. She slams the offshore documents onto the desk. What do you want? She spits. Monica folds her arms, meeting her sister's gaze. Your choice, Elise. Her voice is calm, final. Either pay him, or you won't just lose your money. You'll lose everything. Elise exhales sharply, trying to maintain control. Fine, she says, her voice measured. I'll pay him. But I want something in return. I don't react. I just watch her, waiting. She tilts her chin up, her desperation masked by forced arrogance. You disappear. Walk away from my life, my business, everything. You want me to pay Victor? Then you stay out of it. Forever. I almost laugh. Almost. Instead, I shake my head. keeping my voice steady. Elise, you don't get to negotiate anymore. Pay him or deal with the consequences. Her nostrils flare. You think you've won? I lean back in my chair. I don't think, Elise. I know. She glares, but I can see the truth settling in. She's out of moves. Or at least, that's what I think. Elise checks into a luxury hotel that night. The mansion was no longer safe. The walls were closing in, but she still had a card to play. She dials Victor. I have your money, she says smoothly, sipping from a glass of wine as if she still has control. But I need a guarantee. A pause. Then his cold voice comes through the line. What kind of guarantee? She smirks. Monica is a problem. Make sure she's out of the way. Victor chuckles. You're ruthless, I'll give you that. Is it a deal or not? She snaps. Another pause. Then, it's a deal, but if you're lying about the money, I'm not, she interrupts. You'll have it soon. She hangs up, exhaling slowly. One way or another, she would come out on top. Brandon stands outside the hotel room door, his stomach twisting. He wasn't supposed to be here. He wasn't supposed to care anymore. But something felt wrong. He was about to knock when he heard her voice inside. He freezes. I want Monica out of my life permanently, Elise says, her voice low. Silence. Then a man's voice. You're sure? Brandon steps back, his pulse pounding. What the hell was she planning? I'm at my office when my phone buzzes. It's Brandon. Pick up, he mutters under his breath. Come on, Monica, I answer. What's wrong? Elise! His voice is clipped, urgent. She's setting you up. I grip the phone. Tell me everything. As he talks, my stomach tightens. I should have known. Elise never admits defeat. By morning, I have everything I need. Brandon had recorded the conversation. Every word. I send it straight to the authorities. It's over. Elise walks into her hotel room later that evening, feeling victorious. She hums to herself, tossing her purse onto the couch. And then, a knock at the door. She turns, frowning. She opens it. Two officers stand in the hallway. One of them holds up a badge. Elise Dawson, you're under arrest for financial fraud, forgery, and conspiracy. She stares. Her entire world crumbles in an instant. No, she whispers, stepping back. This isn't happening. But it is, and there's nothing she can do to stop it. I watch from across the street as Elise is led out of the hotel in handcuffs. She's still dressed in her designer coat, her hair perfectly styled, except for the panic in her eyes, the slight tremble in her lips as she fights to keep up appearances. She looks around wildly, searching for someone, anyone, to step in and save her. No one does. I finally exhale. It's over, I murmur, gripping my phone as the police push her into the squad car. Elise Dawson, queen of deception, is finally out of moves. The county jail is cold, sterile, and nothing like the luxury Elise is used to. The fluorescent lights buzz above as she's fingerprinted, photographed, and processed. She hasn't spoken since she was brought in. Not a single word. Not when they took her belongings. Not when they placed her in a holding cell. And not when they handed her a list of public defenders. Because none of her lawyers, the ones she had thrown thousands of dollars at, would take her call. She presses her hands against her temples, breathing hard. This isn't happening. This can't be happening. Back at my office, I sit across from Brandon and Dylan. The weight in my chest should feel lighter, but it doesn't. She'll try to fight, Brandon says, his tone resigned but firm. She can't, Dylan replies, flipping through a file. We've closed every legal loophole, the fraud, the offshore accounts, the forged signatures. There's no way out. Brandon rubs a hand over his face, exhausted. What if she takes a deal? Dylan leans back. That depends on what she's willing to give up. I stare at the papers in front of me. Elise always found a way to survive. But this time, she's truly alone. Victor watches the news from the corner of a dimly lit bar. Elise's mugshot flashes across the screen, followed by a headline: Local socialite arrested in massive financial fraud scandal. He takes a slow sip of his drink, then turns off the TV. She's done, he mutters, tossing a few bills onto the counter before standing up. No point in wasting time on her anymore. Elise is pulled from her cell, led into a small, windowless interrogation room. She sits, wrists cuffed to the metal table. Minutes pass. Then an officer enters, dropping a thick folder in front of her. She doesn't look at it. The detective sits across from her, folding his hands. We both know you're smart, Ms. Dawson, so let's not waste time. She stares at him, her jaw tight. He flips open the folder, revealing document after document: the forged signatures, the fraudulent wire transfers, the offshore accounts, and then the transcript. Her conversation with Victor, the one Brandon had recorded, the one where she ordered him to get rid of me. Her breath catches. We have enough to bury you, the detective says, his voice calm. So here's your choice. He leans forward. You can cooperate and get a lighter sentence, or you can fight and lose everything. Elise finally looks down at the papers, her hands trembling. For the first time in her life, she has no escape. I step outside the police station, the cold morning air hitting me like a wave of exhaustion. Dylan walks beside me, hands in his pockets, his expression unreadable. You did it, he says, breaking the silence. I let out a slow breath. Did I? Because despite everything, despite Elise being behind bars, despite Brandon finally getting free, despite knowing she's facing years in prison, I don't feel victorious. I just feel tired. A week later, the courtroom is packed. Reporters line the benches, their cameras flashing as Elise is escorted inside. She's wearing a beige prison uniform, her once perfect hair pulled back in a loose ponytail. But it's her eyes that catch my attention. They're still calculating, still searching for a way out. She adjusts her cuffs, tilts her chin up. When the judge enters, she doesn't flinch. She's still playing the part of the untouchable Elise Dawson, still pretending she has control. The bailiff reads the charges. Your Honor, Elise's lawyer begins, his voice steady, rehearsed. My client pleads not guilty. Brandon scoffs beside me. Dylan shakes his head. I clench my fists. Of course she does. Of course she thinks she can spin this, twist reality into something that works in her favor. But this time, the evidence isn't something she can rewrite. The prosecution lays it out. The fraudulent loans, the offshore accounts, the forged signatures, the money she funneled into shell companies, the millions that disappeared under false names. They play the recording of her conversation with Victor, the moment she tried to sell me out. Her lawyer barely looks at her. Even he knows she's losing. When the judge finally speaks, the tension is suffocating. This court finds that the defendant is a significant flight risk due to undisclosed offshore accounts and fraudulent activity spanning multiple years. I watch as Elise's fingers tighten around the table's edge. No bail will be granted. The gavel slams. Elise's mask cracks for the first time. Brandon files the final paperwork for his divorce the next day. He signs the documents without hesitation. I thought this would feel different, he admits, placing the pen down. How do you feel? I ask. He laughs, shaking his head. Like I can finally breathe again. I nod, understanding. Because for the first time in years, so can I. The next time Elise and I meet, it's in the courtroom again. This time, there are no cameras, no press. Just a final, quiet sentencing hearing. She stands before the judge, her hands folded neatly, her expression blank. But I can see the anger simmering underneath, the desperation clawing at her. She still thinks she can win, still thinks she can play the victim. I was coerced, she says smoothly, her voice unwavering. I never meant for any of this to happen. I was threatened, manipulated. Victor, seated at the back of the courtroom, lets out a low chuckle. Your Honor, his lawyer says, standing, we have substantial evidence proving otherwise. The judge barely hesitates. The verdict is delivered in a tone as final as the closing of a door. Guilty on all counts. Minimum 10 years. No parole, no way out. As the guards lead her away, Elise finally turns to look at me. For the first time, she doesn't try to smile, doesn't try to manipulate. Her lips part, her voice barely above a whisper. You were always supposed to be beneath me. I tilt my head, meeting her gaze. That was your first mistake. Elise disappears from view, escorted through the courthouse doors by 2 officers. I exhale deeply, feeling the weight of everything that has happened settle over me. So, what now? I murmur. Dylan stands beside me, hands in his pockets. Now? We move forward. Forward. The word should feel liberating. Instead, it just feels final. 2 weeks pass in a blur. Charleston moves on. The world continues spinning. But for those of us who lived through this mess, there's still unfinished business. Brandon finalizes the last of the divorce papers, officially severing the last legal tie between him and Elise. I never realized how heavy it all was until it was gone, he admits as we sit in my office, going over the final paperwork. I nod, knowing exactly what he means. Freedom isn't always a sudden feeling of relief. Sometimes it's just the slow realization that the weight you've been carrying for years has finally been lifted. Dylan, ever the perfectionist, ties up every legal loophole to make sure Elise never finds a way out. She'll appeal, he warns. I shake my head. She'll try. But this time, there's no one left to save her. Elise burned every bridge, and now she's alone. It's what she always feared the most. I meet Brandon one last time at a small cafe near the waterfront. He looks lighter, more like the man I used to know before Elise drained him. We sip our coffee in silence for a while before he finally speaks. I don't regret meeting her, he says. I raise an eyebrow. He lets out a soft laugh. I mean, I regret a lot of things, but if none of this had happened, I wouldn't have realized how much I deserved better. I nod. I think we both learned that. There's a moment, one where I wonder if this could have been different, if we had met at a different time, under different circumstances. But that's not how life works. I hope you find happiness, Monica, he says. I smile. You too, Brandon. And just like that, we go our separate ways. Later that evening, I sit alone in the same cafe, letting the warmth of my coffee chase away the chill of the night. For the first time in years, there's no war left to fight, no battle plan, no revenge to plot. Just possibilities. My phone buzzes on the table. Unknown number. I hesitate before answering. A smooth, confident voice comes through the line. Monica Reeves, I have a case for you. I frown. I think you have the wrong number. Number I don't. This is bigger than Elise. Are you interested? I set my cup down, heart pounding just a little faster. A part of me knows I should say no, that I should walk away from all of this. But another part, the part of me that spent years fighting to uncover the truth, leans in. Tell me more. The airport is crowded, filled with people heading in different directions, chasing different futures. I stand still in the middle of it all, staring at the ticket in my hand. One way to New York. One way to something new. One way away from everything I've ever known. I take a slow breath, feeling the weight of this moment settle deep in my chest. This isn't just a move. This is a rebirth. A month has passed since Elise's conviction. A month of closing chapters and opening doors I never thought I'd step through. Elise was sentenced to 10 years. No possibility of early release. No high-powered lawyers swooping in to save her. The judge saw through every manipulation, every attempt to twist the truth in her favor. For the first time in her life, she was held accountable. And for the first time in mine, I didn't have to be the one to pick up the pieces. Brandon is moving forward, reclaiming the life he lost in the years spent tangled in Elise's web. He texted me this morning. Brandon, heard you're leaving today. I just wanted to say, thank you for everything, and good luck. I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. Me. You don't need luck. You're free now. Go build something better. It felt like the right thing to say. Maybe because I wasn't just saying it to him. Maybe because I needed to hear it too. Dylan meets me at the airport, hands shoved deep in his pockets. I still think you're crazy, he says. I smirk. That's not news. He sighs, shaking his head. You could stay, build something here. I look past him, out the window where the planes come and go. I could stay. I could settle back into my old life, keep doing what I've always done. But something inside me has shifted. I built myself up once, I say. Now I'm doing it again. Dylan studies me for a long moment, then nods. Well, he says, handing me a coffee. At least New York has decent bagels. I laugh, shaking my head. He doesn't say goodbye. We both know this isn't really an ending. The final boarding call echoes through the terminal. I take one last look at the city that shaped me. The city where I learned how to fight, how to survive, how to win. I walk toward the gate, ticket in hand, heart steady. This time, I'm not running. This time, I'm chasing something bigger. As I step onto the plane, I exhale and whisper to myself. This time, I'm writing my own story. As I step onto this plane, leaving behind the past and embracing an unknown future, I realize something important. Life is about choices. We don't always get to choose where we come from, but we do get to choose where we go next. For years, I lived in the shadows of betrayal, manipulation, and deceit. I spent so much time trying to right the wrongs of others that I nearly lost myself in the process. But in the end, I learned the most valuable lesson of all. Sometimes walking away is the strongest thing you can do. If there's one thing I want you to take away from my story, it's this. You are not defined by the people who hurt you. You are not bound by the past. You are not trapped by the mistakes of others. And you are not obligated to keep fighting battles that only serve to drain you. Your peace, your happiness, your future. It all starts with a decision. A decision to break free, to rebuild, and to take control of your own story. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to walk away from something or someone that was holding you back? What did it teach you? And if you're standing at a crossroads right now, unsure of which way to go, what would your future self want you to choose? Drop a 1 in the comments if this story resonated with you. Or tell me where you're watching from. I love seeing how far our stories travel. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you never miss another story that just might change your perspective on life. Because at the end of the day, we're all just trying to write a better story for ourselves.